Welcome to the Hobby to Hustle podcast. I'm Gemma.
And I'm Candace. This is the podcast for creatives run by two fellow business owners who discuss the ups and downs of creative entrepreneurship.
From dealing with imposter syndrome to celebrating new business milestones, we're here to talk about all of them with you.
Hi, welcome to the Hobby to Hustle podcast. My name is Candace. I'm with Gemma today. And today we're going to be doing a quick one. We're going to go over 10 goal ideas for your creative business. Now, we are in December, but this is going to go into your January. So this is something that we wanted to talk about before you thought about next year already. And then we're going to go over our reflections before we head off to the holidays. So at number 1, we have make your own website. So I have my own website and I also have Etsy. Overall, Etsy or other Etsy-like platforms, they are technically in control of your shop. And sometimes, in rare cases, I'm sure some of you have may heard, Etsy can technically shut down your shop. And Etsy's known to shut down shops with zero appeal chances. Something that happened to me recently was Etsy released this new bot system that scans images and basically flags your image as copyright infringement or stuff like that, etc. Now, the design that I had was designed back in 2019. It's my own creation, but it still got flagged to be manually reviewed. So they took that down. And it's one of my best sellers, my tote bag. And that really upset me. There was nothing I can do. I even emailed and contacted Etsy, and there's nothing that they can do about it until they finished reviewing it, essentially. I was still allowed to sell it on my own website, obviously, because I'm in control of my website. But this has happened to many people. And although Etsy is really good platform to start off, because it already has their own customer base, you also have to understand Etsy at the end of the day is in control of shutting down your account, therefore shutting down your shop. So Etsy is a good stream of income, but like that common phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try to have other streams of income as well, which means try to direct more people to your own website. It's also cheaper because Etsy has taken, this year alone has already taken over $1,000 in fees from me. For my own website, I pay about 400 Canadian a year, and there's no transaction fees or anything like that. Like 400 flat.
Okay, I think my website provider is significantly less than that.
I have the advanced plan though.
Okay, so yeah, that's something I wanted to emphasize is that it can be really inexpensive to start a website. I think when lots of people think about starting their websites, they may think, oh, I need someone to design it for me, or it's going to be very expensive. But you don't have to pay a year in advance. You can pay monthly a lot of the time. I believe with Wix, you can actually set up your website for free and you don't start paying until you hit publish, which means, you can design it for a couple of months without the financial commitment of paying. So on top of that, it's actually, I can hear a cat jingling. On top of that, it's actually not as difficult to set up a website as you may think. So even if you're not tech savvy, the website providers walk you through step by step on how to set up your website. It really isn't as intimidating or as expensive as people think. So I highly recommend it. It's great to increase your profits because, if you're using something like Etsy, they take a much bigger cut. And also if you set up the SEO, which I won't go too much into, you can start to get organic inquiries and grow your sales. So yeah, highly recommend it.
Another thing I wanted to point out is that on Etsy, it is technically a policy to sell handcrafts, and Etsy is very strict about it. If you are a calligrapher or you provide services, your own website is better than Etsy because you can actually show your portfolio on your own website. You can still sell retail things like your cards and stuff like that if that's what you are into on Etsy as well as your own website. It's just that you have to understand technically your website is your resume. on Etsy, it's a little bit different. That wouldn't be the case, because even though if you can showcase your artwork via your listings or direct traffic towards your own website or your YouTube channel or other social media platforms, Etsy's more for like selling products than it is selling services. The second goal that we have on our list that you may want to add is building a community. Gemma and I have mentioned before in our first episode and on our YouTube channels that we met through a calligraphy community, and our first business, or at least my first business coach, Dina was my first business coach. She's the one who introduced us, and we've had this connection since, and it's great. Like without Gemma, I would not be where I am today. I can say the same about a lot of people, but like I have weekly meetings with Gemma, and you don't have to have weekly meetings if you don't want to, but it works for us.
So on top of being introduced to other creatives through creative friends you've already made, a great way to find support is to utilize Facebook groups. So I am part of several Facebook groups, and I actually run some Facebook groups as well. They're a great way to connect online if you don't know anyone locally. I also recommend getting in touch with some local creatives. So I reached out to a few creatives locally. So I reached out to a couple of other calligraphers, a florist. I think that was it. And I just said, hey, would you be interested in meeting for a cuppa? I'd really like to connect with other creatives, and it would be great to meet with you. Which was really scary to send that message. But they said yes, and it was really nice to meet with other people locally. And it definitely alleviates jealousy when you know your local kind of creative community. And it's also just nicer to know the people around you, whether it's locally or as part of your creative community online. I think the last thing I'll add to this is I would have quit. I definitely would have quit my business by now if I did not have other business friends. It's just really challenging at times, and there's so much self-doubt. And if I didn't have other friends kind of picking me back up, I think I would have packed it in. They definitely keep me going, but they also make it enjoyable as well. They're the fun side of my business, I think. Yeah.
I like to see it as sometimes my friends are like my supporters and my inspiration. And then sometimes my business friends are also my supporters and inspirations, but they're like my admin team. You know what I mean? Like you guys work on this together. So I have told people that even if Gemma and I are running two separate businesses, sometimes I feel like she's running from Yours Truly Studio with me as well. Because like some of the ideas, I like the big ideas as well, she was the one who came up with them and I'm implementing them. And because she knows like the insights, essentially. She knows the insights of my business. So I think that that's really important. For sure, if I didn't have Gemma, I might not be running my business still. That's why I said earlier, without Gemma, I wouldn't be here. Most likely. It'd be very hard. Because even if William was like, you got this, I'd be like, no, I don't.
I'm the same.
All right. So on number 3, we have vendoring at a craft market. Now, this is more, this may sound more catered towards retailers. So I'm a stationery business, if you guys don't know, but this actually can apply to services as well. One thing that I want to say about this is make sure you go to these craft markets before you apply. And this is because you want to get in touch, especially if the craft markets that your friends have been at as well. You ask them for their opinion. Like, is it worth it? Right? It's really important for you to scope out where you want to be before you actually apply and spend money to be there. It's kind of like if you wouldn't rent a home without looking at it first. You wouldn't just like sign a piece of paper and go like, I'm going to do it just because the pictures look nice. Or you would actually go there, see it for yourself. Now, vendoring has different levels. Beginners, vendors, I would say typically the fees are cheaper, but you also have to understand the foot traffic may not be as heavy because these are newer events. So they might not have the reputation. The medium tier are usually where people are at, right? Those are higher foot traffic, but again, higher prices, but you might get a bigger space. And then large ones are what we see as like the expos, the convention centers, and those ones. I would say those are the big ones. And those you get like a massive tent, etc. This is why it's also important for you to know that you should not start off like gung-ho. I'm going to do the most expensive one, the highest foot traffic, because you need to actually have the experience before you go, or else you will burn out probably 2 hours in.
Yeah, I'd recommend, not even starting with the medium level. Start with the lower tier one.
Yeah.
In a UK context, that would be things like village halls or local recreation centres that host more casual markets where you don't need expensive stalls, because it can be very expensive to start running craft stores. That's not the right phrase. Market stores, because you need things like banners and tablecloths and sometimes display cases. That's not the right term either, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You want it to look nice
up.
And it can get very expensive. So it's better to start small so you can get a feel for it and actually see if you like it as well, because it can be quite intense. It could definitely be quite tiring. It could be profitable, otherwise people wouldn't do it as well. So there's definitely benefits. But I wouldn't jump into the medium tier and invest lots of money getting set up if you don't know if it's something that you would enjoy.
Another big thing about going to the lower tiers or the beginner tiers is that you will definitely make a really good community there. Think about it, if there's lower traffic, technically you get a little bit more time to walk around and actually talk to the other vendors. If you're going to the larger ones, you're not going to have that time because you don't want to step away and then, have people going like, where did the person go? How am I supposed to buy these things? You're going to want to stay around or stick around to sell your products. You're going to have to talk to customers and stuff like that. And if there's a lot of people, you're not going to be able to step away to actually talk to the person next to you, right? So if you start in the beginning tiers, it's really cool because I made a lot of friends starting off at the smaller markets simply because I actually had the time to make those friends. And now there are people that I go to going like, hey, are you going to this craft market? And stuff like that. Now, if you don't have the means to go to these craft markets, like we said, go into these craft markets, the vendor, the booth, the displays, all the accessories can rack up. Or you are selling a service, you can still go to these craft markets selling a service, except if you don't think it's your cup of tea, consider going to career fairs. Go to your local school, maybe go to the school that you graduated from and go like, do you guys have a career fair soon? That's usually at the end of the year, like end of the school year. And then present yourself in a way where like this is an option for you guys when you guys graduate. I think they have career fairs at least in my local, like in Canada, high school. So those are people who want to know what others do other than the standard going to office. Not saying that that's boring, but it would be nice to see small businesses because I didn't see any small businesses. And I noticed that in the last few years, more small businesses have actually participated in these career fairs. I don't know how expensive it can be, but I would imagine it's a little bit cheaper than if you were to do a craft market.
Yeah, so there's lots of ways to get started. It doesn't have to be something intimidating. Start small and work your way up, I would say.
So now on to number 4. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, which is starting a mailing list. Now, if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, we highly recommend it. We had guests Laura and Nikki from Thrive Business Academy. Now, I wasn't a email list fan. You guys can listen to how they converted me, but Gemma is a hard, firm believer of email listings, and she knows how successful it can be. So Gemma, why did you add email listing as a goal?
So the reason why I added this to the list of goal ideas is because I think a lot of creatives spend loads of time on social media. They fret over, creating reels, and social media creation takes so much time when actually email marketing takes much less time and it's more effective. You have better conversion rates, more people see your emails and see your social media posts, and you own your mailing list. If Instagram decides to randomly shut your account or it gets hacked, I've seen several occasions where other artists' accounts have been hacked randomly and are starting completely afresh. If you have a mailing list, you are in control of that. So it is so valuable. If I had to push one out of this goals list, I would say start a mailing list.
I honestly highly recommend listening to the previous podcast. You'll notice that I didn't talk for the large chunk of the beginning of the podcast. Like, I don't even think I said a word until 30 minutes in or 20 minutes in. But that's because I was absorbing all the information that the other three were providing me. And it really made me think, you know what? I don't have to be working so hard on my social media when I can just, work on building my 2 characters through email listing. And owning the email listing is also one of the biggest reasons why I'm an advocate for it now.
And it doesn't have to be super salesy. That was something we talked about in the last podcast episode, is that it can be personal. Don't think, I have to, awkwardly sell my goods or services. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be salesy. You can add your personality. For example, so I send out 2 emails a week, one to people learning calligraphy, one to people who are running art businesses. So in my art business one, I get particularly personal because I think other artists are interested to know how things are going for me behind the scenes, because I would be interested in hearing that from other artists. So I get really personal a lot of the time about how I'm feeling. For example, one email, I think a few weeks ago, was called "I'm an idiot" in the subject because I made a really stupid mistake. And I find it quite fun to write your emails when they're personal compared to the more structured ones.
So the next one on the list we have at number 5 is making a product or service that you're happy, like more than happy with, and then build on top of that. So for me personally, I run a stationery business. Now, on a broader aspect, I can say I started off as a stationery business, and I started off by creating random things that were cute, that were my theme. But then I created Kit and Dino, which are my babies now, and they are what I'm very satisfied with. So I'm going to build on that. So now I've actually changed my business from, not really, but kind of, I've changed my business description, I would say, to, from Yours Truly Studio is Kit and Dino stationery and merchandise.
Yeah. That's made me think as well that I don't know if it's shiny object syndrome or artists are stressed if they don't do everything. They're worried about missing out. So it probably comes from 2 different places that you
I think, or both.
Might try. Yeah, I think people might get excited to try different things, but then people might also be scared of missing out on money, essentially, if they don't do loads of things. But the problem of trying to do everything is that you're spread too thin, your marketing is confusing, and to be frank, your stuff just isn't going to be as good as if you were to stick with one thing and polish it and make it better. So my workshops now, I've done more workshops than I can actually count now. I don't know how many I've done, but I've really perfected them. perfected sounds arrogant, but I'm very comfortable with workshops. I know the content inside and out. I know how to answer questions. I'm really happy with how my workbook looks. That is my kind of the service that I'm super happy with, and then I've built stuff on top of that. And I think also, don't think, oh, okay, I'll do teaching as my service, because that's too broad. You know, if you're getting started, teaching is too broad. You either need to focus on creating workbooks, create teaching workshops, or, you know, running a passive course. You need to focus on one thing. You can't do all of it. It's just going to get too confusing otherwise. You can build up. And actually, I have a membership called the Course Method that walks you through how to build up things if you're in the teaching niche. But I don't give everyone everything all in one go to just get on with it. Like, I like people to build stuff up. And I recommend you do the same. Find something that you're really happy with and build on that.
Yeah, until you feel like you're a professional, and I don't mean like third-party recognized, socially recognized professional. I mean, when you feel like you've aced it, then expand on it. But if you're trying to figure out what you want to ace on, that's fine. We're not saying don't try new things. We're saying if you feel happy with one thing, you don't need to immediately think of a completely new idea to work on. You can also just, technically elaborate or expand on what you currently have already. So the next one we have on the list as number 6 is focus on searchable content. Now, Gemma is better at explaining this than I am. So, Gemma, do you want to tell me what this is?
Yeah, so searchable content are things like YouTube, podcasts, Pinterest, blogs. So it's basically creating content that has a longer lifetime value, I guess, because when you're creating social media posts, they disappear within a few hours unless people were to scroll back on your Instagram feed, for example. If you create searchable content, not only is your content available for longer, but it also means that people are more likely to find you. It grows your business because you are more easily able to be found. So don't try to do everything. Don't do YouTube videos, podcasts, blogs, and Pinterest all in one go. Just pick one thing, give it a go, see how it goes. I think blogging is a great place to get started. I think it has the lowest kind of barrier to entry. Pinterest is also quite straightforward. Candace is shaking her head at her cat. What's going on?
Oh, she's just giving me a look of like, I'm about to jump on you. And I'm like, don't do it.
Telling cats no doesn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are a few examples of searchable content. And yeah, I think that sums it up. Give one of them a go and see your business grow.
So I completely agree with Gemma when she said, don't work on all platforms at once. Now, what we mean by that is when you're starting off, don't try to like do the opposite of putting your eggs in one basket and putting your eggs in all the baskets, because again, you will run yourself like down to the bone and you'll get really sick. So what we mean by that is try to build something first, have a platform there, and then that platform should do its own thing. Then you can move on to the next one and then keep like, moving on like that. What I do is I built my Etsy. I will upload stickers on there, but I've kind of just let Etsy run on its own. I literally will just complete orders and I'm not really maintaining my Etsy anymore. I do need to update like the announcements and stuff like that, or FAQs if there are any updates required. But Etsy is literally running on its own. Without working on that kind of foundation, I wouldn't be able to focus on my YouTube or this big project that I have coming up that I might launch mid-January of next year, because I would need to worry about my Etsy, or I would need to worry about my Pinterest and stuff like that. you can't work on 10 big projects at once. You will suffer. Like, that's just...
Yeah, and I've made that mistake before, and I've seen little progress because it's so scattered.
But yeah, anyways, moving on to number 7, which is improving your photos. I'm sure a lot of you have heard, make sure you take nice photos, make sure your photos look great, make sure your, photos. What we mean by putting this as a goal is to try to find your own theme. Gemma actually has a really good tactic that she does. And I remember when I chatted with her about this before, I was like, oh, you're right. Yeah, that's actually a really good way of doing it. I don't usually do it that way, but I'm going to start doing it that way. So Gemma, how do you take your photos?
So I create a bunch of calligraphy when I'm in the zone and actually feeling creative. And then I schedule a time once I've got a bunch of calligraphy done to take photos. So I make sure that all my photos are taken at the same time, because even if you take your photos at the same time of day in the same exact place on 2 different days, the lighting could look different. So I try to batch as many of my photos together to try get consistent lighting, and I think that has worked a lot for my photos. I also use a white background and I simply sprinkle some confetti around my words, and I think it looks really nice. It's really simple. It's a cost-effective way of adding props, and yeah, that's worked for me. And something I also started to do, because I noticed that my go-to colour was pink, so I would do black calligraphy and then I would sprinkle in bits of pink. So I actually changed my entire brand to be pink because it just made sense if I had a lot of calligraphy that was pink to then change my branding to pink, so it all looks very cohesive. Now, you don't have to change your entire brand to fit your photos, but just think of some elements in your photos or in your branding that ties them together so it feels cohesive.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah. So how I know a lot of you who've browsed through Etsy, like planner stickers and stuff like that, you'll notice that majority of the planner stickers from the bigger small businesses, their listing photos are digital. So that's something that I didn't do before. I used to do live photos. I don't know if they're called live photos, because live photos with iPhones technically means the photos move, but that's not what I mean. What I mean by like
in-person photos.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Yeah. In-person photos. I used to take those. It's very difficult to have it consistent. So like what Gemma said, even if I take it at 10 a.m. every single day on different days, the lighting will be different. So that's why I decided to change it to digital, because it is just more consistent doing that. So that's something that you guys can consider as well for those stationers out there. You want to do listing products, having it digital is okay. And if you want it as a in-person photo, maybe your thumbnail photo can be digital and then show the in-person photos after that, just so your shop can be a little bit more consistent. Another way that you can do that is cheap is just print a solid color on your paper, like a whole sheet of solid color, or like marble effects or stuff like that. It's super cheap way for you to add a little bit more accents to your photos. If you're doing like a die cut sticker or a keychain or washi tapes, just having multiple colors, or like having 2 sheets of full colors and then, have a diagonal with your washi tape in the middle is quite nice.
Can we jump back quickly? Because you mentioned about how you do pictures digitally on Etsy. Without getting too technical, what does that mean? Digital in what sense?
So what I do is I have a PNG of my sticker background, like the backing sheet itself, and then I have a PNG of my actual sticker design. I put those two together. It's kind of like Canva. I don't know how to use Canva, but my assistant does, and she has made my listing images, because I don't do them anymore. I I will have stickers, but I just don't upload them because I don't have time to put it together. So on Adobe Illustrator, what I do is I make the stick, because I need to put this file into Cricut anyways, or my silhouette. All I do is I duplicate it, add a bit of a drop shadow, and then that's what it is.
Yeah. Cool. So, there was something else. Oh, yes. So one extra thing I want to mention in regards to photos, obviously we've mentioned different background ideas, but just make it consistent, whatever you do. I know of artists that have lots of photos, but they all have a different background and they're all different lighting. And it's one thing when it's on your Instagram feed, but if that's on a website, it can look a bit messy. I don't think it looks as professional if you don't have consistency in your photos, is what I'm trying to say. So try create some consistency in your photos next year, and that will naturally improve it, just the consistency.
Yeah. That's one of the, back to our last point on this, and then we'll move on to the next goal. This also ties into why it's important for you to, or another perk of having your own website, so you can put your photos in different areas, whereas Etsy forces you to put them all in the same area. So if it's inconsistent, it's very evident, which is why I moved to digital. Like you can't change it. If you have a couple of photos, like one page is darker lighting, that's fine. But if you did that on Etsy, that's not fine. It's very evident. You'll have a gray photo, you have a white photo and stuff like that. So that's something else that's more of a perk if you have your own website. All right, so number 8 is the goal that I would say is my number one priority, and it's maintaining a healthy work-life balance, which both Gemma and I will have to admit we don't.
We don't have one. We don't have lives.
It's hard. I was just yesterday, I decided to work on my ideal 2023 monthly schedule. Like I wrote a list of the things that I would like to get done in a month, and I wrote the time it should take me to do it. And so if I were to work a 40-hour week in a month, that's 160 hours, right? Those are working hours, the meaning I take weekends off. And then I hid the actual total under a piece of washi tape, typed in my time so I'm not influenced by it. When I took off that piece of tape, it's not, initially it doesn't sound too bad. It said that in order to complete what I wanted to complete by standard, meaning no new things popped up, nothing like, can't work on new projects or stuff like that, 183 hours. That would mean I would need to work 9.2 hours a day. So this doesn't include lunch or breakfast or dinner. Yeah, so that made me recognize, wow, that is not a healthy work-life balance. There needs to be some change, which is, again, why you can't work on all those platforms at once. So that's just something I'm going to need to cut back on, discuss with William, like, hey, what do you think? Do you think I'm overworking? Is this realistic? And
well,
blah, blah, blah.
I was thinking, I didn't want to interrupt you. I was like, let me get my hands on it, because I bet there's stuff on there that I
would be like, no, you don't need to do that.
Yeah,
there is.
It's so
100%.
easy though when you're running your business to think it's essential, it has to be done, but actually it's not essential. It's different if someone's ordered something and paid you and are expecting it in a timely manner. The rest of the stuff is probably flexible. I think we put a lot on ourselves to do far more than we necessarily have to. But maintaining a healthy work-life balance is really tough when you're running your own business, because not only do you generally enjoy working, like a lot of the times there's parts of your business that you enjoy, and if you don't, then something needs reevaluating. But when you're working from perhaps a place of fear, so I left my full-time job last year, and I was definitely kind of working from a place of fear for a little while, because it's so scary not having that consistent income, which made my work-life balance completely rubbish, because I was working so many hours thinking I need to get on top of it, when actually if I'd have worked a lower amount of hours, I probably would have been more effective and gotten the better stuff done in my business.
Oh, 100%. It's kind of like if you force yourself to work to the point where you burned out and you continue trying to produce work, it's not going to be your 100%. You will feel like you're giving 150%, but then when you look back at it after you've rested, you'll be like, this is a 60% quality work. Because when you're burnt out, you're at like max 60-70%. So it's really crucial for people to evaluate, where they're standing in their life. Like, for example, Gemma just said it was because she left her job, and so she feels like she needs to be, get things going in order to, want finances, right? So that's something that you need to work on and worry about when you first start your business. So it's inevitable, but if you regularly evaluate your schedule, I think it's easier for you to understand, because you really look at it going like, ooh, okay, I'm not spending enough time with friends and family, or I'm not spending enough time like myself.
Yeah. And it could be simple habits as well. And I'm definitely not practicing what I preach here. But for example, I have my mobile phone charging next to me in bed. Like, it's on the bedside table. It's not actually in bed with me. I don't have that much of an attachment issue with my phone. But before I go to bed, I am on my phone, often doing work stuff. And then first thing I do when I wake up is check work stuff. So if I touch my phone out of the way and instead, maybe I place a book where my phone is to try and encourage me to decompress, because I really like reading and I hardly do it. But when I get into a good habit of reading before bed, it becomes routine, and that's so much better than working on my phone till like 10, 11 p.m. So it doesn't mean that you have to become a super... my brain is like productive or chill. You don't have to become amazing, but just try to improve it, step by step, make small changes to help you feel better.
Yes, we mentioned this in our second episode, dealing with negativity, and it's finding your limit and play within it, literally. Like, if your limit is, XYZ, if you can work more and you're like healthy, like your doctor, not you saying I'm healthy when you're not. I mean, like, if your doctor can look at you and go like, no, you're healthy, then that's what I mean by that's your limit, right? Not you trying to persuade other people you're healthy. If other people can see you're good, then yes, you work more. But if you, or like look at your phone more and stuff like that, it's not really recommended that you look at your phone right before you go to sleep, doing work stuff. But like Gemma said, like, it's just work-life balance. If you're okay with it and you're healthy, that's all. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I guess I've thought of an analogy when it comes to work-life balance. Probably inspired by Ellen, because she mentioned plates. But when you eat a meal and you reach the point in your meal where you're like, oh, I'm comfortable now, I feel satisfied, but then you still have stuff that's on your plate and you're like, oh, well, I kind of enjoyed that and there's stuff left. I'll just eat a few more bites. And the more you're eating, like, those few more bites start to make you uncomfortable, and they start to, have a negative impact when you could have left it at a satisfied level. And I noticed that when I'm working, I reach a point where I think, oh, I wish I could turn off now. But I'm like, oh, there's, a couple of hours left of the day. I'll push myself to complete those hours of the day, when actually if I'd taken an afternoon off and just chilled out, it would have been so much better for me.
Yeah. I did that the other day too. I checked out at 2 o'clock. I started work at 8, or no, I started work at 9, and I was like, oh, I definitely want to work till 5. But then I was so productive at 2 o'clock. I was like, I'm dying. I think I'm just gonna check out now.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So moving on to, so we got 2 more. Moving on to number 9, regularly set time aside to review your finances. Now, this is so crucial. As an ex-financial advisor, please do this. Because in order for you to really fully understand your bank account, you need to like sit down and look at it. This goes to as a security thing, right? Because I'm guilty of it. I don't look at my bank statements. I should be, right? And if there are one security, if someone really did have a hold of your account or access to your account, majority of the times nowadays, they don't take out money or like, charge your card a large amount right from the get-go, because they will test you. They will be like, I'm going to spend $10 and see if this person noticed it. It's very common.
I hadn't even thought of the security side of it. Ugh.
Yeah, it's disgusting that these things exist, but it happens. So they'll first charge you $10 once a month, and then $10 every week, and then bam, all of a sudden you'll have like $1,000 charge. It's happened so many times, and it's so unfortunate. But review your finances, personal and work, because it's all the same. It's all, you have credit cards for it, you'll have a bank account for it. It's a security thing. Another thing is you can see your business spending spikes. What are the high times, right? Like if you know, for example, Christmas is happening, it's around the corner. If you know you need to buy things for it, then every single year, don't spend all your money in the summer of investing in new things when you know you're going to need supplies for December. Or sorry, you're going to need to spend money in October and November for December. If you don't have that, capital to protect you on that, that's something you need to reconsider. And also reviewing finances is a good habit for you anyways, for budgeting your life, like period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents on setting time aside. At the end of every month, I will review my finances for tax reasons as well as, security reasons and just cash flow at the first of every month.
I think it's really important to understand whether you're profitable or not as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you see sales and you're like, oh, I've made £1,500, you're like, wow, this is amazing. But if you've spent £600 on costs, you're suddenly not as profitable as you thought you were. So it's great for keeping an eye on profitability. And if something isn't as profitable as you thought, and you know that because you've reviewed your finances, you can, bump up the price, like bump up the ticket price, or look at ways to bring down your costs to make it more profitable. Or it may just be that offer isn't as good as you thought and you might try something else. So it's great for making business decisions as well.
Yeah. It's important for you to see, what really works, what doesn't work. Numbers can show you a lot. If you don't review your finances if you don't set time aside to review your finances on a regular basis, a couple months or even a year in, you might go like, oh. So yeah. On to sorry, do you have any more comments before we move on to the last one? All right. So last but not least, no spend. So everyone has a little bit of a different definition of no spend. Gemma, do you want to tell people what your definition of no spend is?
Yeah, so I know lots of you are guilty of this, and that is thinking you need to buy certain things to try new niches. So, for example, when I started calligraphy and I was thinking about ways to monetize it, I thought, oh, I need a Cricut machine. And I was seeing them promoted everywhere. Like, it was shoved in my face. Like, you need a Cricut machine. It's the best thing for artists. But I didn't want to do a product-based niche. So if I would have been, if I'd have jumped the gun and bought a machine, it would have been such a waste of money for me. So this goal is really about being considerate about what you're purchasing for your business. And it's not just physical hardware. It can be software, it could be courses, because I know a lot of people in the art industry love buying courses as well. But if you know that you want to start a business and you're buying several courses which cost like a couple of £100 each, maybe more, you're putting yourself more and more into the red before you've even got started. So the reason why I put this on the list is to really, I guess, hold you accountable to yourself. Try to cut back on spending that's unnecessary. And, then you have more income to spend on stuff you actually do want to invest in. And also have a think about why it is you're spending. Do you feel like you have to buy something because you're seeing it everywhere and essentially you've been effectively marketed towards? Are you buying something because you feel that it will shortcut you to making money? Are you buying something because you don't feel ready, you feel like an imposter, and you feel like buying this thing will help you? There's lots of reasons for spending, but don't let your spending help you procrastinate, because I think sometimes we buy stuff to delay doing something uncomfortable as well.
This, by the way, this also applies to your personal life, because your business is technically the income of your personal life. If you have a personal matter that requires a big chunk of money, then consider not investing in your business yet. Deal with your personal life first, and then think back on like, okay, what's the game plan for growing my business? But take care of the bigger thing at home first. So that's what we have. I'm going to quickly list out the things that we mentioned, and that way you can kind of know what we talked about. So for us, our 10 goal ideas for creative businesses is 1, make your own website, not just on Etsy. We're talking about Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, and stuff like that. Number 2, building a community of supporters, meeting new business owners, talking to other business owners, etc. 3, vendoring at a craft market or a career fair, getting yourself out there as a person, not just digitally. 4, starting a mailing list, so really build your email marketing game. Number 5, creating a product or service that you are more than happy with and build upon it. So basically expanding on, you're growing your baby. Number 6, focus on searchable content. Think of those long forms of content, not just like 1 or 2 pictures on Instagram, things like YouTube, blogs, and stuff like that. Number 7, improving your photos. Again, we mentioned some tips of batch working and stuff like that to ensure that there is consistency, which is very hard to manage on Etsy sometimes. Number 8, maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Everyone's healthy work-life balance is defined differently. Just make sure you're not, sending yourself to the hospital or the doctor's office and going like, I'm healthy, but you're not actually, because you're tired. Number 9, regularly set time aside to review your finances. This is, again, for security purposes, as well as it's just smarter for you for budgeting and ensuring that you're not spending more than you are earning. And last but not least, no spend. There needs to be a period of time where you're not spending a lot of money, or even just like smaller increments, because that racks up, right? If you're every single day spending money on coffee itself, that's already like $100 in a month or so. So those are the 10 goal ideas that we have on our list. You may consider adding onto your list as well.
So that sums up our 10 business goal ideas. Definitely give one of them a go at least. Stretch yourself. Be out of your comfort zone a little. That's where growth happens. And yeah, in our next episode, we'll chat to you about our personal business goals and what we want to do with 2023. And yeah, we'll go more in depth. And we'll also go into depth about our reflection on the year so you can see how we've grown and how our goals went for this year. So stay tuned and yeah, check in on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.